What's up, everybody? We are back with the next episode of Road to Roadworthy with our 66 F100. If you guys saw in the last video, I had a little bit of trouble getting out of the truck. And that's because the door is hitting down here on the fender. It's catching, they're binding, it won't let the door open. You gotta push in on the lower fender, get this door open. There's two things that can cause that. One is bad door hinges, which these are pretty tight, so that eliminates that. The other thing that can cause it is the radiator support bushings, which we just picked up from Dennis Carpenter. Went over there. Cool thing is they got these little kit, pretty nice. Not really cheap. I wish it was a little bit cheaper. You could probably make these out of like some stall mats that you can get from, I don't know, almost anywhere really. So you probably double up on that, get a couple of grade 8 bolts and use those. But I ordered the kit along with a brand new front radiator support from Dennis Carpenter. I've read that there are some differences between the 66 and like the 65. So this one, I believe, is for a 65 and a 66. So we're gonna learn that today. First thing I'm gonna do is take this guy, because it's just got this E coating on it. I'm gonna scuff it up with some red Scotch-Brite pads and then spray it with some Duplicolor flat black paint. And then we're gonna start disassembling the rest of this front end of this truck while this dries up and is tack free. That way it's good to go. We can put this back together. And what I plan on doing is taking the back of these fenders and panels and stuff, scuffing those down as well, knocking off any rust, shooting them with some etching primer, and then also hit them with that flat black. That way I can just take advantage of having everything apart and get the backside protected. So let me take this guy, get it out of the way, and get some tools and start pulling this front end apart. I might get Chuck to come out here and give me a hand. It's a little warm outside today, so she's probably gonna do something into the house. So I got some red Scotch-Brite pad, got my sport set up here. I'm gonna go ahead and scuff it with this guy and then clean it with some paint prep, some Duplicolor pre-paint prep to get anything off of here, just a once over. And then I'll take it outside, set it up, and hit it with the spray paint can of the Duplicolor flat black stuff I picked up from the parts store, and then I'll do the rest to everything inside. So we'll start getting this all scuffed down. That way we just got something for the paint to stick to. It'll take a little while, so let's go. All right, we are outside with the radiator support and the Duplicolor prep spray and some engine enamel. I have some other non-engine enamel in there too. It's all the same, it's flat black. I'm gonna flip this over, prep the front, and then prep the back. I was gonna spray the back first because well, I don't mind if there's some scratches when I flip it over and spray the front. Really can't see it, doesn't really matter, but I'm still gonna do it that way. Let's get this guy over. All right, so we'll just take this spray, some paper towels, clean it off, and then flip it over to the other side and start spraying. Guess it's just like some wax grease remover.
Rise above the clouds and see. Oh, the force has kept us strong. Never did I mean no wrong. 'Cause I ain't looking back. Ain't looking back. Ain't looking. Oh, ain't looking back. Ain't looking.
All right, let's go inside and let this dry and start tearing the rest of the truck apart. Okay, the bolts are cut off for the mount. I got this rust paint from Duplicolor. So I'm gonna, well, I already took a wire wheel and hit the frame rails. I'm gonna spray the frame rails with this stuff and probably hit behind the fenders too while I have pretty good access, just for time being. If we ever tear the truck apart and paint it, then we'll do something different. But for now, I'm only gonna do this and then we'll get that radiator support put back on here. So let's get this nice and shook up, spray these, let them dry, and then we'll put this radiator support back on. So much rust. Okay, now that I got the rust cleaned up and I'm not stepping in that crap for the rest of the time, I got the inner fender here and I got some missing metal. So I'm gonna go grab a sheet of steel from over here, set it up, cut me out a template that matches this right here, and then get that bent a little bit into place and then tack weld it all up. That way I have something for the battery to sit. Right now I can't really get a new battery tray. I have the bracket, but the bottom of it is, yeah, it's gone too. So I'm not gonna reuse this. I'm gonna go ahead and find another one online and order that. It didn't look like it was too expensive. I think this whole thing was like 40 bucks, so really not that bad. But for time being, after I get everything put back together, I'll put this in and find a way to strap the battery down. I mean, this is pretty solid right here on the front, and where it mounts is still pretty good. So I would like to get this put back together, or put back in before I get this radiator support done. So I'm gonna go ahead and grab some paper and make a template for this area, and then we'll transfer that to the steel, cut it out, bend it, weld it in. These aren't too sharp edges, so I should be able to just use the edge of the table over there and just bend this up a little bit. So let me go find some paper or some cardboard to make a template, and then we'll get this transferred to steel. Okay, so here is the inner fender panel. Here's my piece of cardboard. Because I didn't have a big enough piece, and also I wanted a little break, I just taped the two pieces together. So you got this vertical side that comes up here. You have a break that goes here, it's like a little triangle, and then it folds over flat. So clamp a few down. You got this bend here, comes up, and then again at the tape it bends again. This portion sits down in the pan here. Go ahead and draw a line there, that way I have it for reference. Goes from here. So that's a up and then down. And that's this break along here. It's really not, that's not right. Let's redo that. So I have my bend up and then my bend down, and that creates my little pocket. that sits in here. So I'm going to take this off, lay it down on a piece of sheet metal, trace the outside, cut it out, make my bend, set it down in here, trace the outside of this off of the new piece, and then cut this out. So let's go get a piece of the sheet steel and put it on a stand and then trace it all out and cut it. All right, got our piece of clamps. I'm gonna go ahead and just bend this down. I said that was, what was that, 25 degrees? Yeah. Let's get this guy pushed down. This is only 18 gauge steel, so it bends pretty easy. And looks like we're about right where we need to be, 75. All right, so this is really rough, but I think it'll do. I went ahead and got my first bend down here and then hit the second one. And then, like you can see, it's a triangle type of bend, so I got skinny up here, which made that radius not as tight as I would like it, but I think it's gonna work. So now I'm gonna go ahead and bend along this line and come up, and then on the second line, fold it back down. $25. And the next one, go back down to 0. All right, so here you go. Here's my new panel piece. It sits over here and then comes up in the front, goes around. Let's go ahead and see how it fits on the truck. Here is our patch panel. I got these 2 folds here and then these 2 folds here. They get you on the edge. My radius is a little loose right here. It'll probably be fine once I get this cut out and start welding it in, but I'm gonna go ahead and grab a hammer and dolly and then just tighten this edge up a little bit. It shouldn't take too much to get that down. Cover your ears. Yeah. Okay. So we tighten that little bit of a radius up. It's not bad. I think once I get it welded in, I'll probably take my body hammer and just go ahead and tighten that up a little bit, but honestly, I don't see a need to do that. So let's get this guy. Marked out. Make sure I got all my marks. Oh yeah, we're good. All right, so we should be ready to go ahead and drill this guy, or cut this guy out. I'm gonna go ahead and get the cutoff wheel, cut this out, and then we'll start burning that new guy in. All right, so it's the next day. Let's go ahead and recap on what I did. My mic crapped out on me yesterday afternoon, so the audio is pretty crappy from some of yesterday's stuff, but I tack welded this guy in and got it fitted up, and then went ahead and jumped around, tack welding, and getting it all welded up. I used my Eastwood 135 welder. My other Eastside welder, one of the motherboards went bad, so that's shipped out right now, getting fixed. So I'm gonna bring you guys in here and show you how this turned out, and then I'm gonna go ahead and grind all the welds down pretty flush, and then shoot it with some paint, and then move on and get the front end put back together. So let's bring you over here and show you what we got and how it turned out. So here's your panel fitted. Started welding on some of the corners and then jumped around and fitted it up. Used a body hammer and got the fitment as tight as I can get it, and then started going around the edges and welding everything up. So turned out pretty good for a little hand formed patch panel. So like I said, I'm gonna get this ground up and then shoot it with some paint. Hit the backside, I already sanded that down so that it can accept the primer and the paint. So I'm gonna shoot the back of this, grind the front, and then proceed on. So let's get to it. All right, so the paint's pretty much dry. I've scratched up. I really don't care. I got my new bushings here for the radiator support. I don't think, yeah, they're the same top and bottom. I'm gonna figure out how this goes, and we will get the new radiator support mounted. I need some thick washers. Well, I'm gonna figure this out. All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and look up the diagram from like Dennis Carpenter or somebody like that, or LMC Truck, to see why there's 3 bushings here. They won't fit over the sleeve, so I don't have a clue, but I'm gonna look that up, and then I'll grab the radiator support and drop it into place. All right, I don't know why there's 2 of these on each. Every picture I see has both or 2 washers stacked up on the top. That doesn't make any sense to me, but we're gonna grab the radiator support, bring it over here, and fit it into place. All right, so with no help from Chuck or anybody else at all, I got the radiator support mounted to the inner fenders. Now the only thing left to do is just take these guys and push them over top. So now all I need to do is just tighten up these lower radiator bolts and then put all the fender bolts in, and then start reassembling the front. I guess I could leave the camera on and run for doing all that, but that's a little boring. But we're gonna go ahead and get all these bolts put back in and align up the front end, make sure everything's good. And before we do any of that, we'll tighten up these lower bolts. That way everything's stationary, we can continue to put the front end back together. All right, so let's show you guys what I'm getting into, and then we'll start making this new side piece of the radiator. All right, so here's the issue I'm running into. Obviously, I got a lot of space here, so this guy's just, it'll probably end up hitting the fan and everything like that. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna create this new piece that goes down and over and then back to here. I don't know if I'm gonna weld it in. There are some bolt holes here, which look to be like they could be useful. So I might just make the bracket and then bolt all 4 of these pieces together. That way I have something to use in the future. So I'm gonna go get some cardboard, and then we're gonna mock up what we need. There we go. All right, so that's gonna be our bracket. I'm going to get my bead roller set up and basically go around the edge and put a little curve on it. That'll give it a little bit of strength. Down along the sides, I'll make sure I curve it this way. And then I will most likely put a bead here. And here. And then I'll just give it some strength, that way it's not all wobbly and everything like that. We're not going to be able to avoid that, I don't think, with this thinner metal, but it should hold up pretty well. So let's go ahead and get the sheet metal set up over here, clamp down, cut out a piece of this size, and then, like I said, get the bead roller set up. For now, get this pulled out of here, and we will go ahead and get these holes drilled. And there's our piece, much stronger than it was before. A little bit of a bend in it. Just a little bit of a bend, but I'll straighten that out. We should be good to go. All right, so it's the next evening. I got the holes drilled on the bracket and then mounted everything up. And I found that the fan actually touches the reservoir tank when it's spinning. It clears the water neck by like an inch, but it gets really close to this top tank. So I went and picked up some longer bolts and then a couple of spacers. And what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna place a spacer on the front side of this bracket on either side, and that'll just let it sit back about ½ inch, and that'll give me plenty of room for the fan to clear and then also be close enough to the fan to get air to pull through it. So I'm going to unmount this radiator support, pull it back out, put those little spacers on, and then mount it back up. And I think I actually need to waller out one of those holes a little bit because I noticed it's just a little too tight for what it needs to be. So let's get this guy pulled off of here and put these spacers on. All right, here are the standoffs that I have on the radiator. I am going to tack weld these on and then test fit everything and then put this bracket back on and do the same thing with the standoffs for the other side. Now this is temporary. This is not a permanent fix or anything for this truck. I am going to order a new radiator, but they're a little expensive, so I need to put a little bit of money aside before I can go ahead and just bite the bullet on that. This will work for now. This radiator cooled it before, so I'm hoping it'll do the same. And if there's a bigger issue, then I just won't run the truck until I order the new radiator. But this is fairly cheap. I think I only spent, I don't know, $5 total on the bolts and stuff like that, and the metal I had here laying in the shop. So I'm gonna go tack weld these on and then test fit it. All right, so got our standoffs, yay. Just tack welded into the bracket here, and I'm gonna get this test fitted. I clearanced a little on the corner here and here for a couple of ribs that are stamped into this bracket. Now, I gotta see how I'm gonna do these bolts. I guess I'm just gonna do them the same way I did before. Yeah, those guys are, I need to go ahead and get those drilled out. Had had the same problem with the other side after I weld them. A little bit of burr and stuff like that inside. So I'm gonna grab the drill bit, or the drill real quick, and then waller these out. Not waller, but just clearance the bolt here so the threads don't get hung up. All right, so I got my bracket here that I made. Here's the radiator. I got plenty of room between the fan, hoses, and everything else. So this is not moving very much. So I'm happy about that. I'll go ahead and start putting the rest of the front end back together and get these hoses back on and fill the radiator up. I'm gonna paint that first. All right, so I painted the radiator bracket. It's sitting outside hanging up drying. And while I do that, or while that dries, I'm gonna go ahead and get this battery box mounted. So this came from Jegs. It's for a Bronco or a F100, but it doesn't bolt up. So it comes with these brackets on the side, like that. I drilled the spot welds out, got rid of that. And I'm gonna take this base and bolt it down to the top of this fender patch. So, I mean, it fits in the area here. I just need to set the battery in, see exactly where I want it located, and then I will drill holes and bolt it down. And that should be good enough. I got the box from Jegs, and then from CJ Pony Parts, I got the hooks that'll tie the battery down. So let me get this figured out exactly where I want it. And we'll drill the holes and bolt it. So let me get this battery with the go handle. Brand new patch panel. I'm here drilling holes. All right, guys, it's the next day. I've got the battery mount in place, and then the bracket for the radiator in place. Got all that bolted up yesterday. Everything seems pretty tidy. I might want to add a gusset to this later just to tighten that up. I don't think it'll move too much, and I got plenty of space between the fan. So I'm gonna bring you guys over here and show you what I got. And then after that, I'm gonna proceed with getting the wiring set back up here in the front and the whole front end put back together. Shouldn't take too long. And then I might address the exhaust. I went in the parts store the other day, just walked in the back, looked at all the exhaust they have hanging and stuff like that, and I saw a couple of pieces that might actually work. So let me show you guys what I got here. All right, so here's the clearance between the fan and the radiator. Put my whole hand in between that, so we got plenty of clearance here. The bracket's put down on this side, and this guy's pretty solid. And then over here on the other side, we got the battery mount. So as you guys saw before, I drilled out the spot welds, shot some paint on this guy, and then mounted this battery box here. My battery is a little big for this battery box, but I got a piece of foam to set on top of this to pick it up a little bit, and that should clear the sides until I get a different battery. The battery I put in this truck was just a battery I had laying around. So that's all we got for now. I think here's a better shot. That's what we got for now. I think the engine bay looks much better. Even just spraying some paint over top these inner fender liners here. Not trying to make it look crazy, just touching it up a little bit. So I'm gonna get the wires all run back through here, put where they need to go, and then we'll go ahead and reassemble that front end. I'm gonna set you guys over in the corner. Y'all can watch. All right, that's the last bolt, I think. All right, so that's the last bolt for the bumper. I'm gonna get all this stuff cleaned up and then see how this hood shuts. I'm not sure if this changed any of this alignment, but I'm gonna go ahead and just get cleaned up real quick, and then we'll go ahead and shut the hood and see how all that works, and then I'll fill the radiator back up. I made a mess. Okay, so lights all work. We're all good there. Antifreeze is back to being full. Now the big test. Also, the door shuts and opens without hitting that fender now. A little bit of alignment adjustment as far as the fender goes. When I went to put all the bolts back together, I just slid a little bit more forward, but I'll show you that gap in a second. It actually looks pretty good. Let's get this guy. Oh yeah. All right, so we're good. Hood shuts. I mean, that's nice and latched. I'll show you that door gap so you guys can see it. Here's the door gap. It's pretty even all the way down through here. Before it was really close here on the bottom, and then this gap was pretty consistent here on the top because that front was drooping down, but now, no problem. In and out of the truck. So I am happy with that. So that's gonna be it for right now. I do want to go pick up a new exhaust for this truck. So I took some measurements. It's a 2-inch exhaust pipe, and then I took some pictures of the flange and everything. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna run down to the parts store, and I'm just gonna go through their selection of 2-inch pipe and see what would be the best fit for here, and then I'll cut it and move all the bends and stuff as I need it. As long as I have the flange the same, I think I'll be pretty good. So that'll be in the next video, is taking this exhaust off and making one for it for right now. Here we go, the radiator support is replaced. Not too exciting, but definitely needed for the truck, considering the old one's bottom was completely gone. So thank you guys for watching. Hope you enjoyed it. Keep up, subscribe, like, whatever. And we'll just keep tinkering away on this truck. After the exhaust, I think the next big thing that we're gonna tackle is that bed. We're gonna go with a wood bed. I'm gonna cut the sides out, fabricate some metal, fold the edges, put it all back together, and then build a complete frame all the way around it. I got my welder back from the shop. Luckily, ESOB sent a whole new welder because the other one just, I don't know if they couldn't fix it or if it was just too much to replace everything in it. But I got that back, and we'll go ahead and get that bed done. There's first, there's second. Let's go ahead and put it in drive. There's reverse.